Okay. Where did we stop in the last class? Can anyone remind? Where did we stop in the last class? Can anyone remember? Yes, anyone? Hmm.
Well,
Okay. So we have started inheritance. So what is
Multiple inheritance, not work.
yes, correct. So inheritance is one of the building block of the object-oriented programming language. It allows creation of classes with hierarchical relationship among them. So why do we use inheritance? One can create a general class that defines its common set of related properties. So why do we require main use of inheritance in Java? So there are two main reasons why we require, that is method overriding and code reusability. So the terms which we use in inheritance: class, subclass, superclass, reusability. Class, which you already know. So subclass are called as a child class, or it is called as a derived class or extended class, where it inherits the properties of a base class. So what is parent class or a subclass, superclass? It is a class where the properties from a parent class is being inherited to the subclass, and that is what is called as a parent class. Reusability, already it is written, so you are using the same code in some other part, then we call it as a reusability. So this is what the thing which we have seen. Syntax: class A, class B. Class A is a base class, class B is an inherited class, and we take some properties here, and we use a keyword in inheritance called as a extends, and that is what is called as a subclass. And we have seen this program, so where the employee, in employee there is only one variable called as a salary of 40,000, and in the programmer called as employees, and here we display we use a project, we use an object called as a p and display p dot salary, p dot bonus. And let us see one more program, so where uh, in class A, two variables as well as a method. So in the same way, that A is extended to B, and in B we are taking K, and that K is displayed and sum is calculated. So here we are creating a separate objects, one for superclass, one for subclass. So that is what super object, sub object. So we are giving some values for super object as 10, 20 and display them. So then we are changing in the subclass as ij from 7 and 8, and it will be displaying a show ij and show k. Show k. So then we've started with the types of inheritance. First one was single inheritance, where there will be only one superclass and a subclass. In multi-level inheritance, A is a base class, B is derived class for A, whereas C is a derived class and B acts as a base class. So the same way, D is a derived class and C is a base class. So this picture, it represents a multi-level inheritance. And we have seen this example. So why do we require inheritance? Why multiple inheritance? Multiple. So you should remember what is the difference between multi-level and multiple. So multi-level means one level, second level, third level, fourth level. It goes like that. But multiple means two parent class and one subclass. Then that is what is called as a multiple inheritance. So that's what here, class A, class B, and we have taken a message, and we told that this will not be inherited because the compiler will get confused whether this message should be displayed or this message should be displayed. This is a ambiguity here. Okay. So next we start with member access and inheritance, which we have already seen, but again one more time. So what are the access specifiers which we have in Java, and inheritance, with respect to inheritance? So we know that we have four, that is public, private, protected, and default. So the public, this is only a access specifier used so far. Then private, protected, and default. So we can see here public, if I say it is a public, there is no restrictions to the variables or a method. So we can see here, so public class 1, and in this we have a variable 1, method 1, and we have taken one more method called as a method 2. And this from class 1, we are taking to a class 2 some variables. So maybe a variable 1. So in the same way, even method 2 also we are taking a variable 1 and method 1, maybe. So then that is allowed. So that's what here public method and variable can be accessed from anywhere. So you can access, when you declare it as a public, it can be accessed in any of the classes, in any of the methods, with any variables. So that's what you can see here. This arrow marks, this line represents that class 1 have a variable 1 and method 1, and in method 2 it is been accessed by variable 1 and method 1 in method 2. Similarly, we have one more class 1 and class 2. In class 2 there is a method called method 3, and there also it is accessing method 1 and variable 1. So it is allowed. So because the access specifier here, it is a public, both for method as well as variable, can be accessed from anywhere. Same thing if we use for a private. So if we say it is a private, so you can see here, this is a public, this is also public, because we have declared both are public. Variable 1 and method 1 can be accessed anywhere. Whereas if we declare it as a private, so private access is restricted to same class. So you can see here, this is restricted private variable 1, private method 1. So here variable 1 and method 1 are declared it as a two separate one variable and one method, but these two are declared as a private. And in case if we want to access in a method 2, because it is a private and it is within the class, it is accessible. This variable 1 and method 1 can be accessed because it is within a method only. Whereas this class 2, here we want to access this variable 1 and variable 1 and method 1. So here we cannot access because it is declared as a private. So that's what here private method and variable can only be accessed from within the same class to which the method and variables belongs. So this one, class 1 and class 2. So variable 1, method 1. So within a class it is accessible, outside the class is not accessible. Okay, so what are the limitation for the accessibility of instance variable using a private? So if we say private, so suppose let us take a small example. Suppose if we change the access specifier for all the instance variable in the bank account as private, so account number, name, balance, I want to access this account number because I have told it as private. So then it is very difficult to access. In the same way, name of a person, it is also private, so it is difficult. So then private balance, this is also difficult. So public string, convert to string. So account number, return account number, name, balance. So we want to return. So convert to string, we are just using them. So then the same way, balance. So I want to deposit some amount. So deposit where? To the account, some amount has to be deposited with some balance. Already there is some balance, but we want to increment by adding some amount, and balance should be incremented. So then withdrawal. So we want to withdraw the amount, but because all these are private access limits only inside the class bank account. Only this within the class it will be accessed. But once we come out, this cannot be accessed. Okay, so in case consequences, if the variable names, account name, balance can be accessed by statement written inside the bank account class. So now we have seen deposit, yes, it is accessible, balance is accessible, though it is a private. So then withdrawal, yes, it is accessible because it is a private and within a class. And so, and this program also, this is a class a bank account. This is one separate class, and my program is a separate class. Okay, same way, if these accounts are private, and if I want to access in the main method, so then I cannot access the balance in the not accessible, because it is a private. Because it is a private and we cannot access, then it becomes very difficult for a banking applications to do the transaction. So the same way, the user is forced to use a public access method provide inside the bank account class to access private access variable. So we can see public class bank account, and we same way here the balance is a variable where it is declared as a private, and there is a method called as a deposit, there is a method called as a withdrawal, because within a class it is the balance is accessible for deposit and withdrawal. But in this class we don't have a main method, and if we want to do any transaction in this class, we require a main method. So in the main method, again we want to use a balance. I want to check my balance. So then it is not accessible. So with respect to methods, I can do a transactions. Okay. So next we move on to access members and inheritance. Just we have seen what are the different access members with respect to inheritance. So inheritance class does not overrule the private access restrictions. Thus, even though subclass includes all the members of a superclass, it cannot access those members of a superclass that have been declared private. Okay, let us see one small program. So we have a class called as a teacher. In that we have a designation, a teacher as a private, and college name, that is beginner book. Some we have given some designation as teacher, college name as beginner's book, and we have told the data types are string and the access modifiers are private, and these are the variables. Okay, now coming back to methods, get designation. So this method is of data type string and access specifier as public, and we are doing and returning back this method is returning a designation. Okay, next protected. So void, it is not returning anything. So set designation. So we are passing a designation to the set designation. So this dot designation equal to designation. Then protected string get college name. Then return college name. Then protected void set college name string college name. This dot college name is equal to college name. Void does system dot out dot println teaching. So this is a method. But again, you can see in this class, we don't have a main function. To make this program to work, we require a main. So then what we are doing, Java example, we are extending that particular class. So this class, we have called it as a teacher. So this teacher is being used in a Java example. So again, in this main subject is physics, then public static void main we have given. So then creating an object for the main Java example. So obj. So then we are calling a object dot get college name. So that get college name is here. This method is being called. So then system dot out dot println object get designation. So get designation. So this is a designation. So then system dot out dot println object main subject. So main subject. So what is the main subjects we have here? So print out the main subjects here we have is a physics. So that will be this is a variable. These are the two methods. And object dot does. So what is this does is doing? It is just print out dot println. It is printing it as a teaching. So then what should be the output of this program? Get college name. So what is college name? We have beginner's book. What is a designation? We know it is a teacher. So teacher will be printed next. Then what is main subject? Here we have given physics. So physics. Then object dot does. So object dot does teaching. So that's what the output will be, these things for this program. So in this program, how many methods, how many variables, how many access specifiers we have. So you can see here. So for designation and college, we have declared them as a private. And for get designation, we have told it as a public. And set designation, we are making it as a protected. So then the same way, get college name, it is protected. Set college name is protected. And this does is not having anything, but it is void, means which is not returning. So in the same way, here we are taking one more variable called as a main object, which is of type main subject, which is of data type a string, and we are assigning it as a physics. And we are using the methods, we are displaying all the things. So when we are displaying, it will be displaying it as a beginner's book, teacher, physics, and teaching. Okay, so let us take one more small example and see how this access specifiers are working with respect to inheritance. Okay, suppose if, for example, if as shown, we have already seen what is a width, height, and we want to calculate rectangle and a triangle, which we have seen in our lab program. Same way here. So class, and we have taken a class as two shapes, and here we are declaring it as a width and height. So width and height of data type double and access specifiers as private, and we are displaying a two dimension, that is width we want to display and height also we want to display. That's what width and height should be displayed within a show dimension. And we are taking one more method called as a triangle, but we are using this two shape as a extended, as a inherited to a triangle. Okay, so triangle style, so we know half into base into height, that's what width into height divided by 2. So because width what it is to height and width what are the things, it is a private, so cannot access private members of a superclass. So we cannot directly take the members here, so then definitely we'll get an error. Okay, so in this will be the problem. Okay, suppose if we write like this, so class triangle extends 2 dimension, style string style, then double area, return width into height divided by 2, where again this will also return to a error. So then we are just displaying the style. So the triangle class will not compile because the reference to the width and height inside the triangle area method caused the violation. Why? Because here we have declared the access specifiers as a private. So then there will be a problem in displaying them. Okay, next we move on to constructors and inheritance. So what is a constructor? Constructor of a subclass is invoked when we create the object of subclass. It by default invokes the default constructor of superclass. Hence, in the inheritance, the objects are constructed top down. So what do we mean by top down? Top down means it comes from the main, then subfunctions, then in case if you have any methods like that. That is called as a top down. So the same way bottom up means functions, then methods, then so it comes from a lower part, then goes to the main function. So constructor of a subclass is invoked when we create the object of a subclass. It is by default invokes the default constructor of superclass. Hence, in inheritance, the objects are constructed top down. The superclass constructor can be called explicitly using the super keyword, but it should be first statement in the constructor. Okay, let us see one small example. So we have a class, parent class. In this parent class, we have a method where parent class, so that is a constructor, because we know that whenever the method, when we say constructor, it is the name of the constructor class method is same as a class name. So that's what here parent class, then system.out.println, that is constructor of the parent, then class Java example, we have taken some example, then extends this parent class. So it is extending the parent class, so inheriting the properties of base class. So then we are taking one constructor Java example, and in that we are just printing a constructor of a child. So here we have a comment. It is by default invokes the constructor of a parent class. You can use a super to call the constructor of the parent. It should be the first statement in the child class constructor. You can also call the parameterized constructor of the parent class by using super like this, super 10. Now this will invoke the parameterized constructor on it of it integer argument. So in the same way, system.out println constructor of the child. So then public static void main string. So then new Java example. What we are doing, we are just creating a object for Java example. So we are creating an object of this Java example. So then because it is a constructor, both of them are constructor. You can see parent class is constructor. Java example is constructor for this class. Parent class is a constructor for this. So when we create an object, so then the constructor of a parent will be displayed first, then constructor of a child will be displayed. This is the use of constructor. Okay, next we move on. Using super to call superclass constructor. The super keyword in Java is a reference variable that is used to refer parent class objects. So the keyword super came into the picture with the concept of inheritance. It is a majorly used in the following context. So we can see here the person, that is a base class. Person is a base class. In that base class, we have a message. What we are doing there, we are just printing this is a person class. Then subclass, so we are using a extends, so that is class student, extends person. Then void message, system.out.println, this is student class. So void display, so is only student class. So then it is displaying a message. So then super.message. So we'll invoke or call current class message method. So then we'll invoke a class parent class message method, that is super. So then because in these things we don't have, even in this class base class, that is person, and student, it's a derived class, both the things we don't have a main method. So then in that case, we are creating a class called as a test where there is a main method, and we are creating an object called as a S for which class? For a derived class. Then s.display. So we are calling this s.display. We are creating an object. Through object, we are calling a method display. So in the method display, what we are doing? We are creating a message. We are calling a message, just message for this base super derived class, and one more method for a super class. So in that case, you can see this message will be called first, then this is a student class. So this will be printed first because here the message here. Then super.message, because we are overwriting the base class. So then this is a person class will be displayed. So this is output, this is a student class, this is a person class. So this is how the program works. So we can just see the difference between the last program and this program. In this program, what it is, this is a constructor. Here also we have a base class. Here also we have a derived class. We have a one main class. So whereas we have created a class and we have called the object. And because we have called an object, first the base class is used, later derived class. Whereas in this case, so what in this case is happening? In this case, this first derived class method is displayed, later base class is displayed. Why? Because we are using here a super as a message, but before that we were displaying a base class method, then a derived class. So in the same way here, you can see this message first displayed, so that is in a derived class, and the super dot message, it is in a base class. So that's what this is, a student class will be printed, then this is a person class will be printed afterwards. Okay, so next one, using super to access super class members. So we know that when to use a superclass. So super keyword is generally used in the inheritance to override the properties of the base class. Okay, let us see one more example. Class A. So in class A, we have taken a variable called as I equals to 20 and int. So then access A, then system.out.println, I am in a constructor of parent class. So just displaying something. So here A is a constructor. So A is a class. So when we say A, so this is a constructor. Okay. So then class B extends A. So what we have done? So we are using a base class A to a derived class B. And here in derived class, we are changing the value of I. I is 30. And the constructor of B is being used. And uh, uh, some display statement, I am in the constructor of subclass. One more thing, that is class C extends B. So it is a multi-level inheritance because A is a base class and this is a derived class. Now again, B is a base class, C is a derived class. Then it, again here, I is getting changed, I equals to 40. Then C is should be displayed. So this represents a multi-level inheritance. Then we are calling one more method called as a display, where in that case first we are printing I, then we are calling a super dot I. So then we are creating an object, so that is object obj, some name for an object we have given here as object 2, and we are called for a C class, that is a derived class object we have created. Then object dot display, so this display is called. First we are calling it as a println I. So it will go directly here because this is a constructor. We know whenever we have a constructors, what it is doing, first it will display the parent class. So that's the reason I am in a constructor to parent class. Again, I am in a constructor to subclass will be printed. Then I am in the constructor of the main class. After that, so I. So what is this I? I value in C is what? 40. So this will be displayed. Then super dot I. So who is a parent for who is a base class for C? For this C's base class is B. So and what is the value of I? That is 30. So 30 will be printed. So that's how here this is a output for this program. Okay, so next we move on to creating a multi-level hierarchy. When a class extends a class which extends another class, then this is called as a multi-level inheritance. This is what the example which we have seen. For example, C extends B and B extends A, then this type of inheritance is known as a multi-level inheritance. So that's what A extends B, B extends C. C is a derived class and its parent is B. And B is a derived class, its parent is A. This diagram is a multi-level inheritance, that is the concepts of grandparent class. A now acts as a grandparent, B acts as a parent, and C is a child. So like this is called as a multi-level. So if we take in the example of this diagram, we call C inherits class B and class B inherits class A, which means B is a parent of C and A is a parent of B. So in this case of C is implicitly inheriting the properties and methods of class A along with class B. That's what is called as a multi-level inheritance. So one more example, one more program. So let us see car class. Car is one class where a car we are creating an constructor, and we have told that constructor is of access specifier is public. So class car, we are just displaying class car. So then public void main vehicle type. So what is the type of a vehicle used? So that is what car is displayed. Then Maruti. So here we are extending the car. So we are saying that car is of which type? It may be something Maruti. So then we are creating an object for Maruti and print class Maruti. So again in that we have a brand. So what type of brand? Brand is a Maruti. So then speed. So the maximum speed for this will be 90 kilometers per hour. So this is about a just Maruti. Suppose if it is a Maruti 800, so what this Maruti 800 is doing, it is extends from Maruti. So then Maruti, one more constructor for the same class, then display that is a Maruti 800. Then speed is 80 kilometers. So this is about where you can say this is a class A, this is class B, this is class C. This is a child class. This child has a parent and this child has a parent. So we can say that is it is a grandparent. Maruti 800 is a grandparent is car and Maruti 800 parent is Maruti. Yes, so that's about this. Okay, so to execute any program, we should have a main class. So that's what here main. Then we are creating an object for a Maruti 800. So what we are doing, we are creating an object. We are creating an object for only for Maruti 800. Okay, then create object dot vehicle type. Using the object, we are calling a method called as a vehicle type. We are calling a object dot brand. We are calling a object dot speed. Because it is a vehicle type, and first what we will do, wherever there is a constructors, that will be printed. So now class car should be printed because car is a constructor of this. First class car will be printed. Then class Maruti will be printed because this is also constructor. Then model 800 will be printed because this is also constructor. After that, object dot vehicle, what is there in object vehicle type, that is a car. This line will be printed. Then object dot brand, so object dot brand dot Maruti will be printed. So then speed, so maximum 90 kilometers will sorry, it is 90 kilometer will be printed here. So that is a program. This is a program, this is output. This program explains what is multi-level inheritance. Okay, when are constructor executed? So we have just seen some programs. Whenever the object initialized, then only the constructors are executed. That's what here just written here. Constructors of any class gets any executed only when the objects of that class is being created, either dynamically using new or locally. So the object memory is located. The field variables with the initial values are initialized, and then the constructor is called. But its code is executed after the constructor code of the object superclass. At the byte code level, an object is created but not initialized. So then order of execution of the initialization block and the constructors in Java. Static initialization block will run whenever the class is loaded first time in JVM. So initialization block runs in the same order in which they appear in the program. So the initial instance initialization blocks are executed whenever the class is initialized and before constructor are invoked. They are typically placed above the constructor within the braces. So that's what here the order of execution of initialization block and constructors in Java. So static initialization blocks will run whenever the class is loaded first time in JVM. Initialization block run in the same order in which they appear in the program. Instance initializations blocks are executed whenever the class is initialized and before constructors are invoked. They are typically placed above the constructor within the braces. So let us see one program. So class my test static initialize, so then private static int sum, public static int get sum. So then initialization, so this again called return sum. Private static boolean initialized equal to false. Private static void initialize. So that if initialize is not true, then repeat this. That is enter into the for loop. Then I equals to 0 till I is less than 100. Keep incrementing and add that value to sum. So first time if it is 0, next time 1, then again 2, 1 plus 2, 3. Add that to sum. So like this you keep adding till this it becomes 99. Okay, so initialized it true. Then keep this because we have told that it is not true, but we have to make it as true. So till it is true, this keeps repeating. Once it becomes false, this condition will come out. So then even the for loop will come out. So then these are the this is a program, but again we have, for any Java program we should have a main. So that's what here main, and call my test.getSum. So my test is this class, and getSum is this function name. So and it calls. So now you can see how many times this is executing. This is executing 999. What will be the output for this? Because we are to display the sum, right? So it will be 9900. Okay. So next, superclass reference and subclass objects. So just now we have seen what is a super keyword. So now let us again see what is a super keyword in Java. Is reference variable, which is used to refer immediate parent class object. Whenever you create the instance of a subclass, an instance of parent class is created implicitly, which is referred by super reference variable. So what it is doing, superclass reference and subclass objects. So super keyword in Java is a reference variable which is used to refer immediate parent class object. Whenever you create the instance of subclass, an instance of parent class is created implicitly, which is referred by super reference variable. Okay, so the usage of Java super keyword. So why do we use a super keyword in Java? So super can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable. Why do we use a super? Immediate parent, not grandparent, immediate parent. So that's what here. Super can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable. So then super can be used to invoke immediate parent class method. So then super can be used to invoke immediate parent class constructor. So why the super keyword is used? Super can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable. Super can be used to invoke immediate parent class method. Super can be used to invoke immediate parent class constructor. So that's a work of super keyword. Okay. So first we have seen these three. So let us see what each one and how the program we can write. First one, super can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable. So in this, what we have done, so we have taken one small program where in this program, so we have a class called as a name. So in that we have taken color as a white and the data type is string. And that class dog, this dog is in animal, there will be one animal called as a dog, and animal is extended to dog. So then we say string color black. So then we are using a method called as a print color. So then display the color, display even both super dot color. So this color will be printing a black, and this, because we are using a super, it will be referring to a base class. So base class is a white. So this will print black, this will print white. Okay. So now create a class, then public static void main, then string argument. So we are creating an object D. So D equals to new dog, then D dot print color. So what this we are doing, print color, it will go here, print color. What is the first one? That is black. So black will be printed. Next we are calling it as a super dot color, and white will be printed. So that's how here super can be used to refer immediate parent class, parent instance variable. So I'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class. Before we stop, what did we cover in today's class? So we have started with inheritance a long time in the last class, previous class only we have started with inheritance, and we have seen what are the different, what is inheritance, what are the times, why we use inheritance, the two main things we use inheritance, that is method overriding and a code reusable. And we have seen some terminologies in inheritance. One is a class, subclass, superclass, reusability. So these are the 4 terms which we have to remember when we say it is an inheritance. Then we have seen one syntax of the inheritance program. How should be the inheritance program? So we can see here the class A, in that this is a member, and B, and we should know that extend should be used whenever we are using a inheritance. So whenever we want to access the properties of base class to the derived class, then we use a keyword called as a extends. And we have seen one example where employee and a programmer in call in if it is if we say suppose in BMSIT college there are so many employees. In that employees there may be programmers also. That is what is a Java inheritance. So then program one. So then employees salary 40,000, and in this this is a base class, this is a programmer is a derived class, and in that 10,000, and p dot new equals to programmer system dot out dot println, that is salary, p dot salary, programmer, p dot bonus. So then class A int I comma j, then void show j, system dot out dot println, class B extends A int k, void show k. So then displaying these two and add ij plus k. So then we've created uh, a super object and a sub object. We are calling a super object, and we have initialized a value. We have initialized the okay. So here we have initialized 1020, and here in that is super, and in subclass we have changed the values of I and j from to 7 and 8, and k value is 9, and we are just displaying first them. Later we are calculating this I plus j plus k, then display them. Then we have seen what are the types of inheritance, that is a superclass and a subclass. So what is the types? Single inheritance. In single inheritance, we have seen one small program where animal and a dog, and we are seeing a barking and eating. So in the same way, multi-level inheritance, this is A to B, A to B, B to C, C to D. So this is what is a multi-level inheritance. And we have seen a program on this also, animal, dog, and baby dog. So first, what is the order we are taking? First weeping, then barking, then eating. Then why do we require, why the multiple inheritance is not supported in Java? We know that instead of multiple inheritance, we have we are using a concept called as an interface. That's the reason, and it will be ambiguity for the compiler to know which one to take. So that's what we have seen in this program. So class A also is have a message, class B also have a message, and C is taking from both A, B and A. So then C will be in a confusion whether it has to take from B or should take it from A. So this is a problem with the multiple inheritance. So that's the reason, to avoid this we have a interface. So before we move on further, we have seen what is a access members, that is public, private, protected, and default. And we have seen how the if you say it is a public, either it is a variable or a method, so it can be accessed anywhere. That's an example you can see here. Method 2 is accessing variable 1 and a method 2, and method 3 is accessing both. Um, uh, Method 3 is also accessing variable 1 and a method 1. Okay, if we declare it as a private, if a variable as well as a method is declared as a private, then it becomes a difficult outside the program to access that. So this is one picturization where it shows. So this here we cannot access variable 1 and method 1. Then we have seen one small program how the private, if you say private, if you declare it your bank account as private, name and balance, then it becomes very difficult to access all your details. So in the same way here, The balance can be accessed only in that particular thing. But if you want to do any transaction, we require a main program. So if you're declaring this as a private, we can see here in this case we have declared both are private, so it is not accessible. So in case here we declare only private for variable and public for method, then it is possible for us to access these values with respect to the object. That's what you can see here. So here in case we cannot access this directly here, but through the objects we can access them, because again you can see these methods are public, only the variable is private. So then member access and inheritance. So inheriting a class does not overrule the private access restriction. Thus, even though a subclass includes all of the members of its superclass, it cannot access those members of the superclass that have been declared as a private. So then we have seen class teacher is one class, where in this teacher class, two variables are declared as a designation and college as a private. And we have get designation as public, set designation is protected, get college name is a protected, and set college name is protected. And does is just a ordinary method. And we are calling them, and again here we are taking one more variable called as a main subject, and we are initializing it as a physics. And here we are creating a constructor and object for this class, and through this object we are calling a get college name and get designation, then object main method. So get college, so what is there in get college? We have a beginner's book, and in the designation we have a teacher, and main subject we can see physics, and does we have a teaching. So that's how here this will be displayed. So then we have seen how the method has been displayed. So then constructor and inheritance. So what's the difference between how do we use a constructor? Just now we have seen how the constructors are. Taking one more example here. So this is also constructor. Java example. Both are constructor for base class, parent class. It is parent class constructor. Derived class Java example. It is also a Java example. So how the which one will be constructor will be called first? So that's what here you can see, because both are constructors. Constructor of parent will be called first, then constructor of the child. So then using a super to call super class constructors, the super keyword is in Java is refers a variable that is used to refer parent class object. The keyword super came into the picture with the concept of inheritance. So the majority used in the following context. So we can see here person is a base class, student is a subclass. In this message, this is a person, this is a student, and we have one method called as a display. In that we are calling its own method called as a message, and we are calling a base class, that is super dot message, and we are just creating an object S and calling this display. Because we are calling the display, and display is not a constructor, whichever is coming first. So message we have called here first, so then this is a student will be displayed, and here super dot message, this will display, this is a person class will be displayed later. So then we have seen how the constructor of the parent subclass and a main. So this is A is constructor, B is a constructor, C is a constructor for their respective classes. And display is a method which is present in the C, that is a derived class, and we have even a main method is there, and we have created an object, and in object dot display we are calling this a display method. So because once we create an object, these constructors will be called. First the parent class will be called, then the subclass, then the main class will be called. After that, print I. So what is the value of print I? 40 is in the C, so 40.
There is only one.
Yes, who is that? Who is that? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. So then here we are calling it as a I 40, then the parent 30. I'll stop here. and we'll continue in the next class. Someone spoke me in between. You were having some doubts? Yeah, someone, when I was explaining, someone, I heard some voice. What was that voice? Okay. Anaga, answer your attendance. Anaga.
Yes, ma'am.
Abhilash.
Yes, ma'am.
Akil.
Yes, ma'am.
Akil. Akrut.
Yes, ma'am.
Arvind.
Present, ma'am.
Anusha.
Yes, ma'am.
Arifullah.
Yes, ma'am.
Beneka.
Present, ma'am.
Panu Prakash. Bhargav.
Yes, ma'am.
Rahmatullah. Chaitra.
Present, ma'am.
Chandana. Charan.
Ma'am.
Charan. Darshan. Diksha.
Present, ma'am.
Diksha. Dakshayani.
Present, ma'am.
Kishan.
Present, ma'am.
Harshit. Harshit. Hemalata.
Present, ma'am.
Uma.
Present, ma'am.
Jayant.
Present, ma'am.
Divya.
Yes, ma'am.
Kaushik.
Present, ma'am.
You don't leave. You have still 1 more hour, right? So lab instruction class is there. Please don't leave. Kaushik.
Present, ma'am.
Lakshmi.
Present, ma'am.
Lavanya.
Present, ma'am.
Manish.
Present, ma'am.
Manoj.
Present, ma'am.
Mohit.
Yes, ma'am.
Naval.
Present, ma'am.
Navya.
Present, ma'am.
Nikhil.
Present, ma'am.
Panindra.
Present, ma'am.
Pavan. Pavan. Pooja.
Present, ma'am.
Purnima.
Present, ma'am.
Raman.
Present, ma'am.
Rashmi.
Present, ma'am.
Rupak.
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Kumar. Samir.
Present, ma'am.
Santosh.
Present, ma'am.
Sadab. Sadab.
Present, ma'am.
Sharan. Shashank.
Present, ma'am.
Sheetal.
Present, ma'am.
Shivani.
Present, ma'am.
Soumya.
Present, ma'am.
Spurti.
Present, ma'am.
Sri Vishnu present. Sugandhini.
Present, ma'am.
Shushma.
Present, ma'am.
Sushmita.
Present, ma'am.
Sushmita, you.
Present, ma'am.
Tirtha.
Present, ma'am.
Trupti.
Present, ma'am.
Varsha.
Present, ma'am.
Veena.
Present, ma'am.
Yeah, any absentees? Absentees? Anybody who have not answered want to answer? Diksha is present.
Ma'am, Shadab is present. Some network issue.
Charan has messaged. Huh?
Yes, ma'am. Shadab, ma'am, present.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Shadab. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. So in the now again we have. I'll stop. I'll take 2 minutes break. I'll just come back. I'll have water and come back. So meanwhile, you people.